Have you ever been humiliated in front of your entire family by someone who was supposed to become family? Have you ever sat at a dinner table while everyone you love laughed at your expense, treating you like you were worthless? My name is Bonnie Bennett, and I'm 29 years old. I live in New York City, and 2 months ago, my sister's fiancé decided to make me the punchline of every joke at our family Thanksgiving dinner. He mocked me. He belittled me. He told everyone I was a failure because I was unemployed. And my entire family, they laughed. They actually laughed. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was the truth about what I really did for a living. And when that truth came out, everything changed. This is my story about family betrayal, quiet strength, and the kind of justice that doesn't need to scream to be heard. If you've ever felt underestimated, invisible, or dismissed by the people who should love you most, please stay with me. You're going to want to hear how this ends. And if this story touches your heart, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Your support means everything, and it helps me share more stories like this one. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand how we got here. My name is Bonnie Bennett. I'm 29, and I've lived in New York City for the past 7 years. I moved here right after college with dreams bigger than the skyscrapers and a determination that scared even me sometimes. New York wasn't kind at first, it never is. But I built something here. Something I was proud of. But here's the thing about my life, I've always been private. Maybe too private. I don't post every achievement on social media. I don't brag at family dinners. I don't need validation from people who wouldn't understand my journey anyway. I learned a long time ago that the people who matter don't need proof, and the people who need proof don't matter. My family back home in Pennsylvania never really understood that about me. My younger sister, Lucy, is the complete opposite. Lucy is 26, and she's always been the golden child, the one who did everything right according to her parents' traditional standards. She went to a local college, got a degree in elementary education, became a teacher, met her fiancé James Collins at a church social, and got engaged within a year. Everything was picture perfect, conventional, and exactly what our parents, Walter and Jane Bennett, had always hoped for. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister. Or at least, I loved who she used to be before James came into the picture. James Collins. Just saying his name makes my jaw clench. He's 32, works as a regional manager at some corporate office supply company, drives a leased BMW that he treats like it's a Lamborghini, and has the kind of confidence that only comes from never being challenged in your entire life. The kind of man who thinks a middle management position and a mortgaged 3-bedroom house in the suburbs makes him Warren Buffett. From the moment Lucy introduced him to the family 2 years ago, I could see right through him. He was condescending, especially to women. He had this way of explaining things that everyone already understood, like we were all idiots who needed his enlightenment. But my parents loved him. My mom thought he was stable and responsible. My dad loved that he talked about sports and investment portfolios. And Lucy? She was head over heels. She changed for him too. She started parroting his opinions, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, and slowly, bit by bit, she started looking at me differently. See, James never understood what I did for a living. And honestly, I never bothered to explain it to him because I didn't owe him an explanation. Here's what my family knew about my life in New York, not much. They knew I worked with computers or in tech, that's about as specific as it ever got. They knew I didn't have a traditional 9-to-5 job. They knew I worked from home most of the time. And because I'm a private person who doesn't feel the need to broadcast every career milestone, they filled in the blanks with their own assumptions. My mom would ask, "Bonnie, honey, are you still doing that computer thing?" My dad would say, "When are you going to get a real job with benefits?" And Lucy, influenced more and more by James, started making little comments. "Must be nice to make your own hours. I wish I could just work in my pajamas all day. Do you ever think about getting something more permanent?" The truth? I'm a cybersecurity consultant. And not just any consultant, I'm actually really good at what I do. I work with Fortune 500 companies, financial institutions, healthcare networks, and government contractors. I've helped prevent data breaches that could have cost companies millions. I've testified as an expert witness in federal cases. I make more in a month than James probably makes in 6. But I never told them that. Why? Because I've learned that people who truly care about you don't need a resume to respect you. And the people who need proof of your worth before they'll treat you with basic human dignity? They're not worth impressing. I thought my family would just trust me. Trust that I was okay. Trust that I knew what I was doing with my life. I was wrong. The comments got worse over time. James started making jokes during video calls. So Bonnie, still unemployed? Living that trust fund life? For the record, there is no trust fund. Everything I have, I've earned. Must be nice not having a boss breathing down your neck. When are you going to settle down and get serious about your career? Lucy would laugh. My parents would awkwardly change the subject. And I would just take it. Because I thought if I ignored it, it would stop. I thought if I didn't react, he'd get bored and move on to something else. But bullies don't get bored. They escalate. Thanksgiving 2024. That's when everything came to a head. I drove 6 hours from New York to my parents' house in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was actually looking forward to it. I hadn't seen everyone in person since Easter, and despite the awkward comments, I missed my family. I missed my mom's cooking, my dad's terrible jokes, even Lucy's gossip about people from our hometown I barely remembered. I arrived Wednesday evening. The house smelled like cinnamon and turkey brine. Mom hugged me at the door, Dad kissed my forehead, and Lucy squealed and grabbed my hands to show me her wedding binder, every detail of the upcoming June wedding meticulously planned and color-coded. James was there too, of course. He shook my hand like we were business associates and immediately went back to watching football with my dad. That first night was fine. We made small talk, I helped Mom prep vegetables for the next day, and I went to bed in my childhood bedroom feeling hopeful that maybe this holiday would be different. Thursday morning, Thanksgiving Day. Mom was in the kitchen by 7 a.m. I joined her, and we fell into our old rhythm, me chopping, her seasoning, both of us chatting about nothing important. It was nice. Peaceful. Then the rest of the family started arriving. My Aunt Jessie and Uncle Oliver Henderson came first, with their twins Tyler and Pearson, both 21 and home from college. Then my dad's brother, Uncle Richard Miller, and his wife Patricia. My mom's sister Caroline Whitmore came with her husband George and their daughter Melissa. By noon, the house was packed. 16 people total, all crowded into my parents' modest but cozy home. The TV blared football. Kids ran around. Wine bottles opened. It was loud and chaotic and completely normal. Dinner was set for 3 o'clock. Mom went all out, turkey, ham, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, sweet potato pie, cranberry sauce, rolls, and 3 different desserts. We all gathered around the extended table. My parents had pulled out every folding table and mismatched chair they owned. I ended up seated between my cousin Tyler and, unfortunately, directly across from James. Dad said grace. We all dug in. For the first 20 minutes, everything was fine. Everyone was too busy eating and complimenting Mom's cooking to start any drama. Then Uncle Oliver asked me, "So Bonnie, Lucy tells us you're working from home these days. What is it you do again?" It was an innocent question. A normal question. But I saw James's eyes light up like a shark smelling blood in the water. I swallowed my bite of turkey. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I work with companies to protect their digital infrastructure. James actually laughed. Out loud. Cybersecurity consultant, he repeated, making air quotes with his fingers. That's a fancy way of saying you're unemployed, right? The table got quiet. I felt my face flush. I'm not unemployed, James. I'm self-employed. I have multiple clients and... Sure, he interrupted, waving his fork dismissively. Self-employed. That's what people say when they can't hold down a real job. My sister Lucy giggled. Actually giggled. Like we were in middle school and the popular kid had just made fun of the weird girl. My mom said weakly, James, that's not. But he was on a roll now. He had an audience, and he was going to perform. No offense, Bonnie, but let's be real. You're almost 30, you don't have a steady paycheck, no benefits, no retirement plan. You're one bad month away from moving back into your parents' basement. He looked around the table, grinning. I mean, what kind of life is that? Some people laughed. I'm not even sure who, the sound felt like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I remember my cousin Pearson snorting into his napkin. Uncle Oliver smiled uncomfortably and took a long drink of wine. I felt like I was shrinking in my chair. I'm doing fine financially, I said quietly. Better than fine, actually. Oh really? James leaned forward, clearly enjoying himself. So what do you make? Ballpark figure. Since you're doing so well. James. Lucy said, but she was still smiling. Still treating this like it was all in good fun. What? It's a fair question. She's sitting here acting like she's got it all figured out. I'm just curious what cybersecurity consultant, more air quotes, actually pays. 30,000 a year? 40? I didn't answer. My throat felt tight. That's what I thought, he said triumphantly. Look, Bonnie, there's no shame in struggling. But you should really think about getting a stable job. Something with a future. I could probably get you an interview at my company. We need someone to answer phones in the front office. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. The table erupted in laughter. Real laughter this time. My dad tried to defend me. Bonnie's always been smart with computers. I'm sure she knows what she's doing. Smart with computers, James repeated mockingly. Walter, no offense, but that's what parents say when they don't understand what their kid actually does. It usually means the kid doesn't do anything. More laughter. I looked at my mom. She was staring at her plate. I looked at Lucy. She was whispering something to James, smiling. I stood up. Excuse me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I need some air. I walked out of the dining room, through the kitchen, and out the back door into my parents' small backyard. It was cold, probably 40 degrees, and I hadn't grabbed a jacket, but I didn't care. I wrapped my arms around myself and stood there, shaking. Not from the cold. From anger. From humiliation. From the crushing weight of being invisible to people who were supposed to love you. I heard the back door open behind me. I need to pause here for a second because I know some of you watching this have felt exactly what I felt in that moment. That crushing feeling when the people who are supposed to have your back just don't. When they laugh along with your bully instead of defending you. If you've been there, please leave a comment. Tell me I'm not alone in this. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Sharing stories like this helps us all feel less alone, and your support means everything to me. Now let me tell you what happened next. It was my dad who came outside. Bonnie, he said softly. Don't let him get to you. That's just how James is. That's just how James is. I turned to face him. Dad, he humiliated me in front of the entire family. And everyone laughed. He was joking, sweetheart. It didn't feel like a joke. My dad sighed, and I could see he was uncomfortable. He's never been good with confrontation. Look, I know he can be a bit much sometimes. But he makes Lucy happy, and he's going to be part of this family soon. Maybe just try to get along with him? For Lucy's sake? For Lucy's sake. Not for my sake. Not because I deserve to be treated with basic respect in my own family's home. For Lucy's sake. I nodded slowly. Got it. Come back inside. Your mom made your favorite pie. I'll be in a minute. He went back in, and I stood there in the cold for another 10 minutes, making a decision. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to yell or cry or demand an apology that would never come. I wasn't going to try to defend myself to people who had already decided I was a failure. But I also wasn't going to let this go. I went back inside. I ate pie. I smiled and made small talk and acted like nothing had happened. James made a few more comments throughout the evening, little jabs here and there, and I let them roll off me. Because I had a plan. I drove back to New York the next morning, cutting my trip short by 2 days. I told my mom I had a work emergency, which wasn't entirely a lie. I always have work. For the next 3 weeks, I threw myself into my job. I had a major project with a healthcare network that was dealing with ransomware threats. I consulted on a financial services merger, ensuring their combined cybersecurity infrastructure would be airtight. I gave a presentation at a tech conference in Boston. And I barely talked to my family. Lucy texted me a few times. Casual stuff. Funny memes. Wedding updates. She never mentioned Thanksgiving. Never asked if I was okay. It was like it had never happened. My mom called once a week, same as always. She talked about the weather, about Dad's golf game, about what she was watching on TV. She didn't bring up James's behavior either. It was like everyone had collectively decided to just pretend it hadn't happened. Fine. I could pretend too. December came. Christmas was approaching, and with it, Lucy's engagement party, a big formal event that James's parents were throwing at a fancy hotel in Philadelphia. Black tie. 200 guests. The whole 9 yards. I got my invitation in the mail. Thick cardstock, gold embossing, the works. I almost didn't go. I seriously considered just sending a gift and making up an excuse. But then I thought about it. Really thought about it. If I didn't go, they'd say I was bitter. Jealous. Immature. They'd make me the bad guy. But if I did go, well, that was when things could get interesting. I RSVP'd yes. +1. The engagement party was scheduled for Saturday, December 14th, at the Whitmore Hotel in downtown Philadelphia. Yes, same last name as my aunt, funny coincidence, no relation to the hotel owners as far as I know. I took the train down from New York that morning. I'd bought a new dress for the occasion, sleek, black, elegant without being flashy. I'd gotten my hair done. I looked good, and I knew it. My +1 met me at the hotel. His name was David Pearson, yes, same last name as my cousin, another coincidence, and he was a colleague of mine. Not a boyfriend, just a friend who happened to be brilliant, successful, and very good at reading a room. I'd briefed him on the situation, and he'd agreed to come along for moral support and, if necessary, back up. We arrived at 6 p.m., right as the cocktail hour was starting. The hotel ballroom was gorgeous, crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, floral arrangements that probably cost more than my first car. James's parents had money, apparently. Real money. Not the kind James pretended to have. I spotted my family immediately. Mom, Dad, Lucy, all dressed to the nines. Lucy looked beautiful in a champagne-colored dress. She saw me and waved, genuinely excited. Bonnie! You came. Oh my God, you look amazing. She hugged me, and for a second, she was my little sister again. Not James's fiancée. Just Lucy. You look beautiful, I told her honestly. This is incredible. Isn't it? James's parents really went all out. Come on, you have to meet everyone. She dragged me around the room, introducing me to James's parents, Robert and Margaret Collins, perfectly nice people who seemed slightly bewildered by the extravagance of their own party, his siblings, his grandparents, his college friends. James himself was holding court near the bar, surrounded by his groomsmen. He saw me and his eyes narrowed slightly, but he nodded. Civil, this was his party, after all. He had to play nice. The cocktail hour passed. Dinner was served. I was seated at the family table with my parents, my sister, James, and a few of his relatives. David was at a different table, which was probably for the best. Dinner conversation was polite. Bland. Safe. We talked about the wedding plans, about the honeymoon, 2 weeks in Italy. James made sure everyone knew how much it cost, about Lucy's students at the elementary school where she taught. Nobody asked me about my life. That was fine. I wasn't expecting them to. Then came the toasts. James's father went first. A lovely speech about how proud he was of his son, how wonderful Lucy was, how excited he was to welcome her into the family. My father went next. He got a little emotional talking about his baby girl growing up. He made a joke about how he'd always known Lucy would marry someone stable and responsible. He looked at James. You take care of my daughter, you hear me? Always, sir, James said, standing to shake his hand. Everyone applauded. Then James stood up to give his own speech. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It means the world to Lucy and me to be surrounded by so much love and support. He was good at this, the public speaking thing. Confident. Charismatic. You could see why people liked him when they didn't know him well. I want to especially thank my parents for this incredible party. Dad, Mom, you've outdone yourselves. And to my future in-laws, Walter and Jane, thank you for raising such an amazing woman. I promise I'll spend every day trying to deserve her. Applause. Lucy was beaming. You know, James continued, when I first met Lucy, I knew right away she was special. She has this incredible warmth, this kindness. And she comes from good people. Hardworking people. People who understand the value of stability, of building a real life. He paused, and I saw it. The shift. The setup for a punchline. Not everyone gets that, you know? Not everyone understands what it takes to build something real. Some people drift through life without direction, without purpose. Some people. He looked directly at me. Some people think they can just coast on being creative or independent without ever really growing up. The room was silent. But not Lucy. Lucy has her feet on the ground. She has a real job, a real career. She's a teacher, shaping young minds every single day. That's meaningful work. That's the kind of stability I value. The kind of partnership I want. He raised his glass. To Lucy. To building a real life together. To knowing what actually matters. Everyone drank. Everyone applauded. Except me. I set my glass down very carefully and stood up. I'd like to say something, I announced. The room went quiet. Lucy looked panicked. Bonnie, you don't have to. No, I want to. I smiled at her. Then I looked at James. I want to thank James for that interesting perspective on what constitutes a real life. His jaw tightened. James, you've made it very clear, both tonight and at Thanksgiving, that you think I'm aimless. Unemployed. Coasting through life without purpose or direction. And I've let you think that because, honestly, I didn't think I owed you an explanation of my life or my choices. I paused. But I realize now that my silence has allowed you to create a narrative that isn't true. And that's not fair to me. It's also not fair to my family, who apparently share your misconceptions. My mother looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. So let me clear things up. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. Specifically, I specialize in penetration testing, threat assessment, and infrastructure security for Fortune 500 companies and government contractors. I've worked with the Department of Defense, with major financial institutions, with healthcare networks responsible for millions of patient records. I could see people leaning forward, listening now. Last year, I prevented a ransomware attack on a hospital network that would have shut down 3 emergency rooms and put thousands of patients at risk. 2 months ago, I identified a vulnerability in a banking system that could have exposed the financial data of 6 million customers. I've testified as an expert witness in federal cybersecurity cases. James's face was getting red. I work from home because I can. Because the nature of my work is largely digital. Because my clients are located all over the country, and I don't need to be in an office to do what I do. I set my own hours because I'm my own boss. I choose my clients. I choose my projects. And yes, I make more than enough to support myself. I turn to address the whole room now. In fact, I make roughly $470,000 a year. You could have heard a pin drop. That's not including bonuses or speaking fees for the conferences where I'm invited to present. That's just my base consulting income. I looked back at James. His face had gone from red to pale. So when you offered me a job answering phones at your office supply company, James, I appreciate the thought. Really? But I'm going to have to decline. Someone in the back of the room laughed. Then someone else. Then it was rippling through the crowd, not cruel laughter, but shocked, amazed laughter. I wasn't done. But here's the thing, James. The money doesn't actually matter. I didn't tell you all of this to brag or to embarrass you, even though I'll admit there's a part of me that's enjoying watching you squirm right now. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I told you this because I need my family to understand something. I need all of you to understand something. I looked at my parents. At Lucy. At my aunts and uncles and cousins. Your assumptions about my life, about my worth, about my success, they hurt. Not because they were wrong, though they were. But because you all made them without ever asking me. Without ever trusting me. You let this man, I gestured to James, mock me, belittle me, humiliate me in front of all of you. And you laughed. Or you stayed silent. Which is almost worse. My mom had tears in her eyes. I love you all. I do. But I won't accept being treated like I'm less than. Not by James. Not by anyone. I picked up my purse. Lucy, I love you. You're my sister, and I want you to be happy. But if being part of your life means being disrespected by the man you've chosen to marry, and if you're going to allow that, then I don't know if I can be at your wedding. Lucy's face crumpled. Bonnie, wait. James. I turned to him one last time. I hope you and Lucy have a wonderful life together. I really do. But if you ever speak to me that way again, you'll regret it. And then I walked out. David was waiting in the hallway. He'd heard the whole thing from his table. That, he said, grinning, was magnificent. I want to stop here and ask you something. Do you think I went too far? Do you think I should have just kept quiet and let it go? Or do you think people who disrespect you need to be called out, even if it causes a scene? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I really want to know what you think. And if you've been watching this whole time, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support keeps me going, and I have more stories to share if you want to hear them. My phone started ringing before I even got back to New York. Lucy called 11 times. I didn't answer. My mom called. Then my dad. Then Aunt Jessie. Then my cousin Melissa. I turned my phone off and spent Sunday alone in my apartment, eating takeout and watching bad TV. On Monday, I finally listened to my voicemails. Lucy was sobbing in hers. Bonnie, please call me back. Please. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know any of that. Please don't hate me. Please come to the wedding. Call me back. My mom's message was quieter. Bonnie, sweetheart, your father and I need to talk to you. We're so sorry. We didn't understand. Please call us. There were others, but those were the two that mattered. I called my mom first. Bonnie. She sounded exhausted. Thank God. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. I am so sorry. Her voice broke. We should have known. We should have asked. We should have stood up for you when James was being cruel. We should have. Mom. It's okay. It's not okay. You're our daughter. We're supposed to protect you, and we let you down. I felt my own throat tighten. You did let me down. I know. Your father and we've been talking all weekend. We were so focused on Lucy's happiness, on supporting her engagement, that we didn't see how badly you were being treated. That's not an excuse. It's just, that's what happened. And we're ashamed. What did Lucy say? I asked. She's devastated. She had no idea about your work, about how successful you are. She thought what James told her to think. She's been calling you non-stop. I know. Will you talk to her? Eventually. But Mom. James needs to apologize. And I don't mean a fake apology where he just says sorry to keep the peace. I mean a real one. I understand. I'll talk to Lucy. We talked for another 20 minutes. My dad got on the phone too, apologizing in his own awkward way. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. I called Lucy that evening. She answered on the first ring. Bonnie. Hey, Luce. I'm so sorry. She was crying. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I thought you were just. I don't know what I thought. James said you were struggling, and I believed him. I should have asked you. I should have defended you. Yeah, I said quietly. You should have. I know. And I can't take it back. But Bonnie, please don't hate me. I don't hate you. I love you. But Lucy, you changed when you met James. You started seeing me through his eyes instead of your own. That hurt. I know. You're right. He's so confident, and I thought he knew better. I thought he was helping me be more mature or something. But he was just being cruel. And I let him. Have you talked to him about it? There was a long pause. We had a fight, she finally said. A big one. After you left, he tried to act like you had embarrassed him on purpose. Like you'd been hiding your success just to make him look bad. I told him that was insane. I told him he owed you an apology. And? He said he'd think about it. She sounded disgusted. I told him that wasn't good enough. That if he couldn't apologize to my sister, then maybe we needed to rethink things. My heart jumped. Lucy. I'm not calling off the wedding, she said quickly. But I'm not walking down the aisle to marry someone who can't admit when they're wrong. He hurt you. He needs to make it right. 2 weeks later, James called me. Bonnie. It's James. I know. Silence. I owe you an apology. Yes. You do. More silence. I wasn't going to make this easy for him. I was out of line. At Thanksgiving and at the engagement party. I made assumptions about you and your life, and I was wrong. I'm sorry. It sounded rehearsed. But it also sounded genuine. As genuine as James was capable of anyway. Why did you do it? I asked. What? Why did you target me? What did I ever do to you? He sighed. Honestly? I think I was threatened by you. That surprised me. Lucy always talked about how smart you were, how independent, how you just moved to New York and were building this life on your own terms. And I felt like I had to diminish that somehow. To make myself feel more important to her. It was insecure and stupid. Yeah. It was. I'm sorry, Bonnie. Really. I'll do better. See that you do. Because Lucy deserves better than a husband who tears people down to feel big. I know. We hung up. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was something. That was 2 months ago. Lucy's wedding is in 4 months, June 15th. I'm still in the wedding party. Maid of honor, actually. Lucy asked me, and I said yes. James and I aren't friends. We probably never will be. But he's been polite when we've talked, and he hasn't made any more jokes at my expense. My parents have made a real effort to understand my work. My dad asked me to explain what I do, step by step, and he actually listened. My mom tells her friends about me now. I heard from my aunt that she brags about having a daughter who works with the government. Lucy and I are rebuilding our relationship. It's different now. There's a wariness that wasn't there before. But we're trying. And me? I'm doing what I've always done. Working. Building. Creating the life I want on my own terms. But I learned something through all of this. I learned that silence isn't always strength. Sometimes it's just permission for people to write your story for you. I learned that the people who love you should trust you. And if they don't, it's okay to demand better. And I learned that justice doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it just looks like standing up and telling the truth. So that's my story. The story of how my sister's fiancé mocked me as unemployed, how my family laughed, and how the truth finally came out. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or made to feel small by people who should have built you up, please leave a comment. Tell me your story. Let's build a community of people who refuse to accept being treated as less than. Hit that like button if you think standing up for yourself is important, even when it's hard. And subscribe to this channel because I'm not done telling stories. There's more to share. More truth to speak. More quiet justice to be served. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are not defined by other people's limited understanding of who you are. You define yourself. Never forget that.